All right, greetings, greetings, greetings. Today I am reading from Queen Afua's Sacred Woman. So I'm going to break this session up into two parts. So the first part is going to be the melting pot. And this is where our elder Queen Afua began. I'm in total agreement with Heteru. From my point of view, our lost legacy is further compromised by the melting pot syndrome. They say America is a melting pot. I've heard this most of my life. I was always concerned about that concept because I kept wondering whose pot we're all being melted down into, how willingly we jump into this pot head first and take on all the ingredients of the mix, which is predominantly from European cultures. Is this not true? So what happens to us as Africans? What happens to our particular gifts as a race? What happens? What has already happened? We go to school and get our education and indoctrination. We give praise in the rituals of foreign religions. We wear other people's clothes, follow their customs and traditions. We oftentimes trade ourselves off to become the successful corporate professional. We break our fist trying to break through the glass ceiling. We become a part of the melting pot. We melt ourselves down to what? And we come out as who? Surely not ourselves. Do we melt out what makes us uniquely African and become one of the guys or one of the gals? In this melting pot, most of my sister girlfriends and family have learned to press the kink out of their hair just to identify with the look of another woman's tribe. We're the only woman on earth who consistently impose violence on our crown to take on the ideal of another tribe's beauty. Our kinks had to be melted down no matter what the cost. Then came the 1960s to rescue our looks and our souls as sacred, strong, beautiful African women. As we dressed in our traditional clothing, we received the ritual healing of our self-image. Unfortunately, in the 1990s, we've regressed. And we're back trying to melt into someone else's image of beauty, trying to melt into anybody's pot but our own. In the 1960s, African cultural schools came along to save our children's minds. We opened up independent businesses and hired our own people when no one else would. We were growing freer and more independent. Then in the early 1980s, drugs were poured into our communities by people in high places. We began working for the government and corporations. We had to dress for success, so our clothes and our natural hair just had to go. Our ways as natural Africans could not be accepted by this melting pot. To qualify for employment, only a European look would do. Many of our people have had surgery to shape their once round African noses to pointed tips. Others have trimmed down their lips. Still, others have bleached their dark skin to a lighter hue. We've taken on a more so-called acceptable look of the economically dominant race who gained their old money from the hands of our forebears in slavery. When we put in green, blue, and hazel contact lenses to cover our African brown eyes, do we melt down our intuitive nature, that part of us that functions from a high spiritual plane? Do we sacrifice what is most humane for what is most efficient? Our lives become less about how we feel as people and more about what we think? Do we melt down all of our African traditions and customs, our way of being, our expressions of spirituality? With this melting pot continuously boiling all the ingredients into one taste, where's the spice? It tastes bland to me. In the process of the makeover, I am posing as a stranger to myself. And what about the other cultures of people of color? Must we all wear suits and ties to participate in the American way of life? And whose excellence are we talking about in this great big melting pot? Surely not my own. Thank you very much, but I'm not getting into your melting pot. I'll make my own soup with my own taste and freshness and richness. The soup that my ancient African mother prepared in the Nile Valley. Matter of fact, if you act right, you're welcome to come over to my pot and taste some of my simmered greens smothered in sage and other rich secret tastes. I don't want to be cooked down or toned down or blended into someone else's pot. Cooking from my own pot and spicing things up with my own taste, especially for me, is what I'm looking for. My cultural diversity is what gives color to the human family. Love and beauty is within. What is within must manifest. The greater the awareness of the truth of our own being, the greater your power. Ketha Het Heru. Now, the next section I'm going to be sharing with you from Sacred Woman is You Are What You Wear. And I just feel that these are things that we need to think about as we're changing, as we're getting watered down, melted down, as we're becoming bland, as we're becoming non-existent, non-identity. Some of us are trying to make their own identity because we're so ashamed of identifying with Africa because we've been fooled, we've been tricked to think that our culture is really nothing. I've seen people throughout Africa fight over European clothing. I've seen them fight to get it because, when you think you can't get something, you want it even more, but you don't understand. There is no comparison against European fabrics and designs when it comes to ours. No. There is none. But I'm going to discuss more about that in the next section. You are what you wear.